Hello and welcome to Chapter 14, Troubleshooting Windows After You Start It Up. All right, so you're going to write some notes too, just like we did in Chapter 13. I think in the next chapter as well. Those next three chapters, 13, 14, and 15, are important chapters if you want to be a good A+ tech person, a help desk, someone who fixes PCs. So these three chapters are very important. So don't feel bad by writing notes. I think they are important. All right. Don't forget and also you're writing these notes and you're submitting them as homework. All right. So let's get started. All right. We talked about this, I think, on the previous chapter or the chapter before. So write this down. A shell, part of the operating system, is the portion of the operating system that relates to the user's application. So the user really works with the shell, not the kernel, to be able to communicate with the operating system and the applications too, by the way. They work with the shell. The kernel is responsible for interacting with the hardware. There are two components that makes up the kernel. There is the HAL. Please write this down. The HAL, which stands for Hardware Abstraction Layer, and the executive service. All right. When Windows is first installed, it builds HAL based on the type of the CPU that's installed. All right, so HAL cannot be moved from one computer to another. This is the reason you can't copy Windows installation from one computer to another. In 64-bit version of Windows, 64-bit programs are stored in the C program files folder, and 32-bit are in the C program folder x86 folder. So you can tell the difference where they are located. All right, the table 4.1, where's table 4.1? This table is very important, so I don't want you to write it down, but this will list all the tools and techniques to solve Windows-related problems. All right, so please study these at least once, look at them, and remember them as a reference tool for you. All right, so what are the best practices to troubleshoot Windows-related problems? I want you to write these down. Number one, you interview the user. All right, you interview the user. And so when you're interviewing the user, make sure you back up the data. Ask the users, for example, to reproduce the problem and try to reboot if you have. Maybe that will solve the problem. Number two, error messages and web. If you get error messages, use the web, Google. You ask your coworkers. Try the log systems if you have to, right? So you can use the event viewer and reliability monitor to look for clues. So write this down when you're looking for error messages. Number two, you open the event viewer in the administrative tools group. All right. And I want you to write all of these down here. Right. And starting with the administrative log, that's going to show only critical errors and warning events. Application log is going to show the events that is recorded by an application. Security log, which sometimes are called audits, they include successful and unsuccessful logins. The setup log is the events that are recorded when an application is first set up. The system log is where are we here? Yeah, we're in the right page. Okay. The system log is the events that is triggered by Windows components, such as a device driver has failed. Forward event logs is forward event logs. That happens when it's logs that are recorded from another PCs when you're on a network. All right. Step number 3. So try troubleshooting applets and device manager. Step number 4, consider data and applications might be corrupted. So maybe your data or the applications, and you may have to restore the app and the data from backups. Step number 5, you're writing this down, right? Consider outside interference such as malware, faulty memory, corrupted hard drives, or low system resources, right? All of that could happen. All right, so what do? Press Control Alt Delete, or the Win key and X key to go to the task manager. When you go to the task manager, you'll see a whole bunch of, let me see, faulty memory, corrupted hard drive, low resources. You want to get to the task manager to help you out. Remember this, you need to Control Alt Delete. And all of these tabs, such as the process tab and the detail that's going to show you running processes that are organized by apps, the background processes and the Windows processes. Right click on the process and go to details. All right, to jump into the details tab. I think they have a picture of it. There's the details tab, right? And where you see the name of the program file and other details about the running program. So you can actually tell if it's been hung or not, right? You can actually, in here, it'll tell you if it's running, if it's suspended, or whatever. You can actually end the task right there if you see that. The performance tab, the next tab right here, the performance tab allows you to monitor performances of key devices in the system and network connections. The app tab history shows the resources that the program is using. The user tab is going to show, is used to manage the startup, right? And that's the startup tab, not the user tab. And the user tab is the one that lists currently signed in users. Expand that users to show processes started by the user. You can do that. That might be affecting the internal performance. And the service tab at the end is going to list the services currently installed along with the status of each service. You can stop it. You can stop or start the service by right-clicking and selecting the action that you want. All right? So take a look at those. Is the users tab, the startup. The startup tab is a good place to go to if you think your system is sluggish. There's probably a lot of startup files in there. Get rid of them so your system will boot up much quicker. There's a lot of application in there that start up every time you boot up your system. Okay, so another problem that might be happening when you're troubleshooting Windows is, this is number 6, incompatible applications. All right, so if you bought an application that's incompatible with the operating system that you have, you may have to get rid of it or install another operating system, either in a virtual machine. Let's say you bought an application that only runs on Windows 7. So you probably can, and you really need that app. So what you do is you create a virtual machine, get Hyper-V from Apps and Features, create a virtual machine, and install Windows 7, and then install that application in there, and you'll be able to use it, right? Number 7, consider Windows might be the problem, by the way. So what do you do if Windows is you think Windows is the problem? Well, update Windows. Use System File Checker. You can use the command SFC /scan now. If I'm not mistaken, it's in here somewhere. So it is right here. So that's a good place to write that down. That helps you check the system file and fixes it if there's a problem. Use the DISM to repair the system file, right? You can use this command using the DSM. Follow these steps that will allow you to, the image file normally stored, you could do all of this, right? So scan the current installation for corrupted system files. So try these 4 steps. Boot the Windows in safe mode if you have to. And of course, you can always use the system restore. Hopefully you set that up. All right. What happens if you have a slow startup and slow performance? Okay, I want you to write the following 6 steps for that. Observe the startup, look at it, make sure it's really normal. If it's normal, if it's really slow. Second step you do is you back up the data, of course. So you want to back up the data. Here we go. And step number 3, we're writing the highlights, all the steps right in here, right? Perform a routine maintenance. So to do that, you want to verify the critical Windows settings such as updates and antivirus software or you can uninstall any software. Step number 4, investigate and eliminate the startup programs, like I told you earlier. That really slows things down. So go to the task manager, go to the startup tab, and see if you can eliminate any of the programs that you don't want to automatically boot up when you turn your Windows on. Check for unwanted scheduled tasks, and check for low system resources, right? That could be a problem. All right, so those are the steps, unwanted scheduled tasks. Now let's get into low system resources. We talked about that. What happens if you have problems with application errors and crashes? All right. So number 1, if your application hangs, use Task Manager to end it. Step number, you're writing these down, right? Because these are all troubleshooting tasks that you can use. Number 2, if there's application errors, again, if you have slow performing application, what do? Use the task manager to set the reset priority, because you may have priority levels on the applications who can use more of the memory and the CPU to determine who can use the CPU resources, right? So reset the priority level. Number 3, if your service failed to start. Number 4, if the file fails to open. So go through that. You can go through these automatics, manual. You can do all of that. If you have a missing DDL. Okay, so this is something that we'll get into. What is the DDL? Missing DDL component that is not registered. So the main program for an application has a .exe file extension and relies on several component services that often have DDL extensions. DDL stands for, by the way, Dynamic Link Library. The easiest way to solve the problem is to reinstall the application. Just remember that. All right? So if you're getting any statement saying, hey, missing DDL, when you're trying to run an application, probably a good idea is to reinstall the application and you're okay. All right. If you have an application that never worked, okay, so what you need to do is run the administrator or update Windows or consider compatibility issues. Verify that the application is digitally signed. To do that, you want to view the digital signature. Select the digital signature tab of the program file's properties. Double check and make sure it's all good. And number 7, the open database connectivity is the technology that is used to create data source, which provides access to the data and includes the drivers required to interface between access and the data. This is on figure 1441, right? Which I just missed right here. All right, but anyway, so I'm going to stop right here. And so write down whatever I write you to that down. And we'll continue with chapter 14, video 2. All right, don't forget to submit the written notes for homework.